Hello, good evening, and welcome to Mind Over Matter, Project Suicide Prevention in conjunction with JDA Lifestyles and Fitness. We're bringing you awareness today around prostate cancer. Who am I? I'm Kerry Mussington, the founder of Mind Over Matter, also known as the Mom Project. So today there is myself, we have JDA Fitness, and Louise from Mom. We're all on Canada watching as well, we know that, but we are raising awareness worldwide, not just for UK, but worldwide. And today we have special guest, Errol Mckellar, MBE. I'm privileged. Sorry, let me just do it. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's real cool. And we have mixed elders. I am absolutely privileged to meet mixed elders as well in the corner. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it is an honour to have the privilege to speak to you guys. And then we have Jenny down the bottom. But as we go forward,
I've got no letters though.
Build up before we talk. And we have Lou down here as well. And we needed to know questions that we don't have the answers to. We needed to have the education that many of us are oblivious to. We need to understand. Now, you might think, what does suicide prevention have to do with cancer, prostate cancer? Everything, because it's all about the mind and how we cope. And this is how we're going to find out what are the rights, what can you do, how you're going to cope. So, Jemmy, we're going to get to the big boys. We're going to make them, normally they'll be right front there, waiting and itching. But Jemmy, you've been campaigning for prostate cancer. Why and how do you know these two lovely gentlemen right here?
Okay. Do a quick summary of who I am. I am the business development manager for the London School of Education Management. I also am part of a small t-shirt design company called D Naturals, and every year we decided that we want to give something back to the community. So what we decided was, we thought everybody's got 3 pair of trousers, 2 jumpers, 2 pair of trainers that are either out of fashion, too small, too big, that they're never going to wear again, and we can give them a home. So we collected all these clothes from all these people, and we gave them out in central London, to the homeless in central London. Which, you know, we had a lot of people helping us, but then again I thought, what can I do that is more to me, which relates more to me as a person? And my wife told me about the gentleman over there on the left. Is he on my left or is he on my right? Which side is he on? He's over there, Mr. Errol Mckellar. Oh. And my wife told me about Errol Mckellar, and we started looking up and find out what prostate cancer. At that point, I didn't really know what prostate cancer was myself. I knew it existed, but I didn't know what it was. So I started researching, and I decided, yes, this is something that I really want to be involved in, because it affects me and it affects my direct community. And I've lost many friends to prostate cancer. And then I made my way and I actually met Errol. We did an event, and from that I have been friends with Errol ever since, and I've been campaigning on loads of different social media platforms. Anywhere where someone will listen, I'll talk to them about prostate cancer. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And it's becoming really, 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 really important, isn't it?
Well, it's a silent killer. As you will hear later, it's a silent killer. It affects 1 in 4 black males, and 1 in 8 Asians, and 1 in 8 Europeans. So if it's in your family, your odds are halved. And I also found out on my own journey that going to the GP, the GP doesn't want to give me any help if I'm below a certain age. Because when I first went to my GP, I was in my early 40s, and the GP told me no. I said, I beg your pardon? I said to him, no. I want a PSA test. He told me no again. I went away and I came back and I told him that's in my family. Gave me a test said day. And praise God, my PSA is very, very low, 0.48, I believe, at the time. So what I did in the knowledge of going through my own experience, I share with, like I said, anybody who listen, If you sit down with me for more than 20 minutes, we'll talk about a lot of things, but we will talk about prostate cancer, especially if you're a black male. Because black males are worse than any other kind of males when we start thinking, because the illusion is this frightens all black men. Yeah? Most black men will run 1,000 miles, and we know already, most black men don't even want to go to the doctor for a general checkup, much less to think that he has to deal with this. And in 2021, 2020, 2019, the PSA test is there. The PSA test, as far as I understand, is a great indicator. It doesn't say that you're 100% safe. It doesn't say that the world's perfect, but it's a great indicator. If your PSA is at that top level, then you know further investigations may need to be done. Yeah, and also your lifestyle, riding motorbikes and bicycles and these things also can play a big part on your prostate. Bicycle, seats this big, where's the weight of your body going? On your prostate. But I don't want to talk too much because I've got some I've got Sir Errol over here. I've got Mick. Yes, I've heard of you as well before, Mick. Yeah, none of you ain't heard of me. That's the problem. So I need to work a little bit harder. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much because, like I say, the experts are here. People who have been the course. Because like I said, my prostate is in very good health at the present time. And these gentlemen have lived the story, so to speak. Like I said, the reason why I do speak about prostate cancer is because of Sir Errol Mckellar.
Thank you.
Wow.
But deep down, I want to understand the fear. Did you have a fear, Jemmy, and did somebody coach you over that fear? What made you go to the GP and do it? Was it somebody prompting you to do it?
I didn't have no fear. I didn't have no fear of getting checked. I was told that I had to go by the boss, the natural missus. She said it had to get done, and I was never scared because I knew, first and foremost, I knew that the doctor wasn't going to give me this in the first instance unless there was a real problem. I knew it was an injection. I am terrified of needles. But yeah, I even made some videos that I've got on Facebook of me actually having my PSA done. So it was a case of doing it once. Every year I go and get checked. And like I say, my people who are in my peers who I'm around regular, they are fed up of me talking about prostate cancer. And slowly but surely, some of them are getting up in years now, and they are slowly but surely saying, Jem, oh, I've been and had it done. But you know, you always get the odd friend who wants to be part of the crowd and says, oh, I've been and had it done. So I asked, what's the question? Jem, right, well, please go and get it done. Because if you don't know your PSA level, you haven't had it done. Because that's what you're doing it for, to know what the level is.
Okay, right. PS what? PSA?
Prostate-specific antigens. Count. Cell count.
Prostate-specific
antigen. PSA.
What's an antigen?
It's a cell.
Okay.
I believe.
You see these questions, isn't they, that we pick up? If I have a question, I'm going to probe it. I don't know what the word means. I need to dissect that word, what you're saying. So understanding is key.
Basically, what the PSA does, it looks at the cells in your blood and it basically counts them. So that's why I know that my PSA level, the level of PSA in my blood is 0.48 because the cells have been in effect. Would that be right, Errol? Mick?
Yeah, spot on. Perfect explanation.
Brilliant.
I'm the boss, ain't I?
Yeah. So do you? Okay. You know what? Thank you. This is all new to me to talk to men about their bits. I've listened in on it, but to actually speak to you and actually being able to actually pose some of the questions that I think maybe may need answering. So I think that's a pleasure to have you here.
Let me say one thing before I do go. Your role is more important than mine.
Yes.
Because Joe Blogs, my brethren, being a man, he don't want to listen to me. But when his wife says, baby, if you don't go get that thing done, don't come to bed tonight, he's running to the doctor. Yeah? She says, we now cook the rice and peas on Sunday. Let's go get the thing checked. Yeah, that's how your sisters have an immense amount of power that can guide me. and you sisters know, when you want your man to do something indirectly, it might take a bit of time, but eventually you will get your way.
Yeah,
it's right. And I think it goes the same if we talk about before you leave, Jimmy, it goes the same for women. Women are supposed to check themselves also in many other ways, you know, as well. So if we're talking about checking, it goes both ways. Encouragement one another if you're in partnership or friends, to encourage one another into, have you had a check? Have you checked? Because I'd be honest, as a woman, you know, we're talking about your men's bits as well, but as a woman, it's so simple to forget to check until somebody prompts you again with awareness. And this is what you do, is raising the awareness out in the community today. You doing this today, you guys, is a prompt for someone, just someone. Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Right, waiting patiently. So between Errol and Mick, Mick, please welcome to unmute your mic. Between Errol and Mick, you have different stories. One is Hmmm, coping through Hmmm, and Errol, I'm not quite sure yet how you cope in what you do, whether that's plunging yourself into awareness. I don't know. You're all doing that anyway. So it's about your coping mechanisms through this. So who would like to talk first? And I have to be honest, because it's pretty sad because Mick is going through it right now.
Yeah.
And Errol, you're in recovery, is that right? Before you
right. Well, let me tell you my story, guys. For those who don't know, you know, I'm Errol Mckellar. I'm 63 years of age, and 10 years ago, right, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I'm gonna, you know, and I have to allude to what Jimmy is saying, how important, you know, you two ladies represent 100 million ladies out there, right, just by being on this panel today, because no man that I have met, and Jimmy will back me on this one, right, no man gets through this on their own, and without the strength and support of the woman in their life, or their, you know, their partners, and you know, their family network, right, it's very difficult to come out the other side with this. You know, I mean, my journey started at the end of 2010, right, when my wife was nagging me for snoring, right, and I've got to say, snoring has got nothing to do with prostate cancer. But why I tell you the story is because 9 out of 10 men find out that they've got a problem with their prostate by accident. And, you know, I said to my wife, I turned to Sharon and I said to her, listen, if this snoring bothers you that much, right, you make an appointment and I'll go and see the doctor. So she made the appointment, went to see the doctor. While I was sitting there, I picked up a leaflet from Prostate Cancer UK, right, read the leaflet, and I thought, okay, let me go and make an appointment to come back and do this test. Well, you know, I got to the reception, spoke to the young lady. She said, Mr. Mckellar, you don't need to make an appointment. It's a simple blood test, takes less than 10 minutes, right? Anyway, I done the blood test. I even continued to sit there and wait to see the doctor about the snoring. And then when I got home in the evening, the wife was cooking dinner at the time, and I turned to her and I said, Shah, while I was waiting to see the doctor about the snoring, I did a blood test for prostate cancer. So she immediately stopped cooking, and she just turned to me and she said, well, what's that got to do with your snoring? So I think luckily the answer that I gave her was good enough for me to get my dinner that night, right? Yeah. So, but one week after that first blood test, I get a phone call. Could I come in to do a second blood test? That was immediately followed a week later, right, by a phone call. Right, the doctor said to me, "Look, Mr. Mckellar, we booked you in to have a biopsy." So I said, "Right, when do you want to do that then?" And they turned to me, said to me, "We want to do that this morning." So I said, "Okay." So I put the phone down and I rang the wife, and I said to the wife, "Look, I've just had a phone call from the doctor. They want me to come in and have a biopsy." And she said to me, "When do they want to do that?" I said, they want to do that today, this morning. They're going to do it. So she said, okay, don't worry. She said, you know, don't drive, get a cab and I'll meet you at the hospital. So I said, okay, fine. So before I put the phone down, I said to her, I said, by the way, what's a biopsy? And, you know, thank God, really, she just said to me, look, it's nothing to worry about. It's a routine thing, right? You know, I'll see you at the hospital. And then we left it at that. So anyway, so I had I had the biopsy. Right, a week after that biopsy, that was followed by a scan. And a week after that scan, they called me and my wife in, and they sat us down and they said, Mr. Mckellar, your prostate is covered in cancer. Well, I got up and I walked out the room because, you know, I think I was completely in denial of the conversation. But then I went and I sat in my car, and, you know, to this day, I don't know whether I was scared or frightened or both. I just burst into tears. You know, I just could not control my emotions or how I felt, you know, and my wife came in and she sat in the car and she said, listen, she said, all the years that I've known you, I've never, ever seen you quit on anything that you've ever done. So I had to man up, you know, man up as a man. And I had to stop crying and I had to look at her and I thought to myself, you know, is she having a go at me, or is this her way of, you know, motivating me to get up and do something about this issue? So we got out of the car and we went and we walked in, sat in the room with the doctor. I said to the doctor, what do I need to do to deal with this problem? And he said to me, Mr. Mckellar, look, if we don't remove your prostate, you could be dead in 6 months. So I said, okay, well, let's go ahead and do it then. He said, look, there will be some issues you have to come deal with. There will be some side effects that you're going to have to come to terms with. I said, doctor, if I have a chance of staying alive, I'll take that. So to move the story on, I had the operation. There were still traces of the cancer in my body because it started to travel outside of the sort of boundary walls, as we call it. And so I had to have nearly 3 months of radiation treatment, right? And that was brutal. That was really, really hard. But during that time, I kept saying to my wife, listen, I said, you know what? I think I need to find some way of doing something about this, because I think God has kept me alive for a reason. Because if the amount of cancer that I've got is what they're telling me, I shouldn't be here, you know. And again, this is why I always emphasize the importance, and Dee has brought it up, you know, Jemmy brought it up about how influential and how positive, you know, his Mrs. D is, right? Because, you know, my wife turned to me and she said, listen, you know, this cancer has only knocked you down. It hasn't knocked you out. And she said, I know you will go 12 rounds in it, but what you're going to do, you'll take everybody in the ring with you. So I took that as my inspiration, you know. And after being out of work for 6 months, I went back to work, and I used to run a garage in East London, fixing cars, servicing MOTs. The first day I was in the garage, a guy came in the garage, we got talking, and he said, really good to see you back. I heard how bad things was. And even to this day, I still don't know why I said to him what I said to him. I turned to him and I said to him, you know, when was the last time you had your prostate checked? And the man stopped being pleasant and he looked at me hard. And he said to me, what the bleep has that got to do with my gearbox not working? So I said to him, I turned to him and I said, listen, I said, I will give you 20% discount on the work I'm going to do on your car if you go and get your prostate checked. Well, 2 weeks later, he came back into the garage and he looked at me and he said, guess what? You know, I took your advice and I went and done that test. And I looked up to the sky and I looked back at him and I said to myself, Christ, this has just cost me £200, man. Right? And he must have seen the look on my face, right? Because he looked at me and he said to me, listen, don't worry about the money. And again, I looked up to the sky and I looked at him and I said, thank God for that, right? And he said to me, but hear what? He said, I think you better read this letter, right? When I opened his letter and read his letter, he had 25% cancer in his prostate. And he turned to me and he said to me, listen, he said, you need to donate that money to charity. But he said, more importantly, I think you better start raising this awareness of this issue, because if you didn't tell me to go and do it, I wouldn't have gone and done something about it. And he was the first of 48 guys that walked into my garage in East London, right? 48 guys. 2 of those guys are no longer here, right? One of the guys was 42 years of age when he found out about the issues with prostate cancer, right? By coming into my garage. 10 months he lasted when he found out. The other gentleman was 36 years of age, right? And what was more sad about him, right, when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer is he stood in front of me and told me that his 2 brothers, his dad and his uncle all had prostate problems, you know. And for me, he died of ignorance. 6 months after that diagnosis, he died of ignorance, right? The other gentleman, who was 42 years of age, for me, was the unlucky man. When he walked into my garage, he didn't even know he had prostate. You know, me, I had more cancer than both of those guys, and I'm still here. So I consider myself to be lucky. So, you know what? I'm grateful to you, Kerry. I'm grateful to the team that's there tonight, right? Because this is a silent killer, right? This takes 47,000 men a year are diagnosed with this issue, right? Of which 11,000 of those men will die of it, right? That is 1 man every 45 minutes that will die of prostate cancer, right? 1 in 8, right, European men will have prostate cancer. More frighteningly, 1 in 4 Afro-Caribbean men will have prostate cancer. But let me tell you what my attitude is to that, right? Because these are stats. Prostate cancer doesn't care about your color. Prostate cancer doesn't care about your wealth. Quite frankly, prostate cancer don't care about you. What prostate cancer will do, if you leave it and you ignore it, it will kill you, right? And, you know, and I think the importance of what you're doing today is far greater than we can even imagine, because if we end up saving 1 life from this interview and this conversation tonight, then amen to that, you know? And, you know, I echo all the great things that you guys do. I mean, I formed a charity, right, because I felt that we needed to do more of these things, right? It's called the Errol Mckellar Foundation. And the reason why I've done that is because I felt that even though I'm a proud ambassador for Prostate Cancer UK, right, I felt that more needed to be done. And like yourself, Kerry, right, you've gone out there and you have you know, this is an issue that affects you not just physically, but mentally, right? And it doesn't just affect you, the man, it affects your nearest and dearest, right? My wife is my carer, right? She puts up with all these women are wonderful people, right? Because they put up with everything that we throw at them, and they come back and they take more. And, you know, listen, Jemmy, listen, we know we've done a lot of work together, Jemmy and myself, a hell of a lot of work, right, in raising this awareness. You know, what we are going to do now, right, because you look at the situation that's going on out there now, right, men are not going to the doctors, men are not going to the hospital. So what the Errol Mckellar Foundation is doing is we are looking to put together a mobile testing vehicle to go out there and test men, right? Because we're saying if you're not going to the doctors and the hospitals, we are coming to you. And that's where we are with it at the moment. So listen, power to you guys. You know, I'm not the special one here. You guys are the special ones, because you took this whole thing by the scruff of the neck and said, look, we need to talk about it, because that's important. Talking is important. And then once you've done the talking, it's doing something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna come up for air now. Let somebody speak.
Oh no!
I know your story. So come on, tell us, man.
I just have one question in relation to something you said.
Yeah.
Dealing with the mental health side of things that I do. So I'm looking at when you use the word ignorance, it's a choice,
yeah,
right? But when it's a choice of one's own body, do you feel that people are ignorant because they're scared, or just maybe they're at a point in their life where they just say, you know what, that's just another bombshell, I can't be dealing with it? No,
you are spot on. And you know, everything, we have to understand the importance of that word, you know, mental issues. We have to understand, you know, what you are doing, right, absolutely represents probably every particular element of illnesses that you can have, right? Because if you listen, prostate might affect you in a practical way, but it will affect you mentally more, because men are frightened of that area. They don't want nothing to happen in that area, so they would rather suffer in silence and die through fear and ignorance. That's what they would rather do. This Jemmy will tell you, this having this conversation with men. Sometimes we have to be brutal when we're having this conversation with them. Really, really brutal, and tell it as it is. Because we men, right? And look, as I said, there's 4 of us here today, right? We could not go through half of what you ladies go through. We couldn't do it, right? We're physically strong, and I'm not even sure that we should hold the title for that, because when a man is ill, right, as I said, he can't deal, particularly with mental issues, prostate and so forth. He cannot deal with that by himself, right? I don't know no man that has come out the other side with prostate cancer by himself, and I've been doing this campaign for over 10 years. So that's what I'm saying. Very important.
So if they are on their own, then it'd be worth them joining. Is there any group? You get the AA, don't you, for example? Is there a prostate group open talk workshop that they can attend to get information? Because if they're in, I'm going to create it.
Yes, yeah, we are. This is what we are doing now. The Errol Mckellar Foundation is organizing, with people like Jimmy and Mick and my man with the muscles there. Hopefully, right, he continues to make sure that there's no issues, right, with his prostate whatsoever in terms of looking after himself, because it's key that we men have this conversation. Very, very key that we have it, but we can't do it without you ladies, So I'm going to tell you something. When I was offering the 20% discount in my...
Where's he gone?
Oh, he's frozen.
That's okay. These things happen. This is reality. So, if we lose, you'll come back.
My garage, right? More women took it up than men. Women came into my garage.
Oh, no.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear. So what he's saying is, more women were a lot more likely to pick up the flyers and leaflets in relation to prostate cancer than the men would. So it's almost like the men are like,
yeah. And you know why? Because I used to get guys coming in and telling me, guys used to come in and say to me, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I used to get guys coming in and telling me that they're good.
Oh, damn, he's having problems.
It's all right. You know what? He said a lot at the minute as well, which is really, his voice has been projected. It's going to go all over the world. So these things happen. So, it's just one of these things. There we go.
Yeah. Well, we soldier on. We soldier on, because what you guys are doing is fantastic. And you know what? As I said to you, and I go back to my first statement, it's about talking, communicating, getting this message out there. All I'm saying to people, please follow the Errol Mckellar Foundation, right? Because we are trying to make a difference, right, with, changing people's attitude towards prostate cancer. Because you ladies made a campaign to get your bits and pieces sorted out, right? You get a letter for it. We men don't get no letters at all. Right? I used to be an MOT tester, and every year I have to MOT your car, right? What's the difference between you having an MOT on your body and one on your car?
I don't think people have enough time to, they don't make enough time to self-explore themselves or address, like you said, denial and not making enough time, or don't want to discuss the issue or face up to it. I think it's not, if we look at the woman between prostate cancer and we look at then cervical cancer, that word cancer, and then looking at our bits, we want to address it. So there's the difference between men and women. It's still I put myself in the shoes regardless, it's still a frightening activity to think about, and it is a bold decision, and it's very serious. And this is the importance of these messages today. So we're going to talk to Mick in a minute of the importance of this situation is to make sure that awareness is raised. Errol, let me put you on the spot right now. Are you on the Mom Project Mental Health Real Talk?
I lost you there. Say that last bit again.
Are you on the Mom Project Mental Health and Awareness Real Talk? Are you on it? Which is what we do.
Right. Well, I'm not officially on it, but you know, listen, send me the details, right? Because going forward, right, we should be preaching it. So yeah, definitely.
So I would like for you to post your material and any events or anything that you have coming up actually in there. I'm going to get you, JJ, 1 second, in there as well, because we will share as much awareness for you as possible. We'll get people to try and attend your events as possible. And I think at the end of the day, you know, when you're talking about the most mobile testing vehicle, for me, at the end of the day, if that's an avenue, what it's going to take to that, hey, perhaps we can all go to a GoFundMe, because after all, we're all in this together to try and make a difference somewhere along the line. I don't know what you've got up your sleeve, but there are ideas that can happen.
Well, we need your help. We need your help, guys, because listen, you know, we're looking for donations, because you know we've got the green light to go out and do this, right? NHS are supporting us with what we're trying to do. Right, we are bringing on board every possible avenue to make that happen, because you know we have to start getting men's attitude. Men have to understand, right, that it's not a fear, it's not an intrusion into their private parts, right? It's a necessity. It's important to make sure that when you put your key as a man in the ignition, it's firing and it's starting. You know, there's nothing worse than a man standing up and he's got a flat battery. Nothing worse than that. So if we can make that an easier situation for him, what I don't want any man to do, and I can only tell it to you in motor mechanical terms, I don't want him to like what I used to see in my garage when the vehicles used to come on the back of the recovery truck. Women don't let that happen, because they check their oil, their water, and their tires, right? Men, they wait until it breaks down and then they bring the car into me. And that's the same, exactly the same as what they do with their bodies.
So the benefits of...
And when it's too late, that's when it's the problem.
So getting it early, your success rate is more of a survival, like you would with any cancer, I suppose. Catching it early, the outcome would be more beneficial than to leave it where it's out of hand and affects the rest of your organs and everything else. So, you know, it's a sensible conversation that we're having here, like no other. And I'm glad that the women, we have got women who are sitting here with you. Does anybody want to ask Errol any questions? There are a few viewers' comments here that I can read out to you before we pass on to Mick. First of all, we got a hello mix. There we go. It's amazing testimonies. Somebody actually hates that word, cancer. Now, this is the question. They would leave their women instead of talking. This is very good. So what they're saying is people that are diagnosed with this sometimes just get up and leave their women rather than putting their women.
I mean, listen, men struggle to have this conversation in front of men, and it's even more difficult for them to have this conversation with their female partners. But what I'm saying is, right, and you know, Jemmy will allude to this as well, that you know, the most important thing is talk to somebody, have a conversation with somebody, right? Because a problem shared is a problem half. And you know, we come back to what you are doing, Kerry, right, in terms of the mental approach to things, right? You know, this cancer, this one particular cancer, if it's caught early, there's a 98% success rate of you coming out the other side, you know, and that should be important. I mean, you know, last year, even in this pandemic issue that we're having, right, I had 9 funerals, right, for prostate cancer, 9, right? That's a ridiculous sum of numbers for people dying of an illness that if it's caught early, right, you have more chance of coming out the other side. It's ridiculous.
And it's and you see the rates that you put, the statistics. You said 1 every 45 minutes. Well, it's the same thing. every you know, tragedy is tragedy. Every 40 minutes, someone dies of suicide as well. So you see that rate,
exactly.
rate. That's a lot of people covering with that are having dark secrets of whatever they're going through that need to come out, and they need someone to talk.
And you know that in one day, that means we're going to lose 129 men in one day. 129 men in one day. So by the time we've finished this meeting today, right, you know, we would have lost, right, worse ways, 2 men, right, in this country. And the problem is far worse in other places. And that's because men do not want to have the conversation. We're getting better, but we're a long way from getting close to having the conversation. No, women make a point of having these conversations. They do in their groups as women, they get together and they talk about things. We men, we talk about women, we talk about cars, we talk about football. We don't talk about the one thing that brings all of that lot together. So that's my issue, and that's the thing that we want to change. And the Errol Mckellar Foundation, that is what we're about. We are trying to sort of generate donations, but we are also trying to make sure that the awareness, right, is not forgotten.
That's right. Errol, is there anything specifically women can do to help their partners and male friends actually take action to check their prostate?
Yeah. Let me tell you something, right? There's a lot that women can do. Look at your man, right? If he's getting up 3-4 times a night, right, and you know, if he's going to toilet on a regular basis, you know, and he seems like he's not emptying, right? These are early signs, right? You know, lower back pains, lower abdominal pain. The problem is, right, with men, every problem or every issue, a man's got an answer for it. Oh yeah, I'm getting on in age, and that's why that's happening. Women spot these things. Women they know their man. They look when something's not right, they know, right? How they know, only God can answer that question. But he gave you ladies a gift, and you are listen, I'm here today because of my wife. You know, if Sharon didn't moan to me about the snoring, right, I now preach the word nagging. So sorry guys, nagging. I preach it like there's no tomorrow, because that's the reason why I'm here.
Okay. Thank you, Errol. Errol, if you don't know, I'm going to shout it out again because it's a proud and it's an honor to actually have an MBE sitting on the Mom Project. So I'm going to take that all day long. And now he's on JDA platform too. So let me take that on all day long. One of the questions that I picked up from as well, just one question. It was very key to me that as a woman, of course, I've got to ask the question that a woman will ask. So as a woman, the question I want to ask is, the sexual part, because we know that that's probably the reason why a lot of people don't come forward, because it is the sexual parts. And sometimes at the end of the day, we will have to improvise somewhere along the line. There are so many questions on there. Mick, I have your notes right down here. So there's so many questions to talk about.
Listen. Ask me the question. Let me tell you the answer to that question, because this is important, right? Listen, I used to be Usain Bolt, right? I am now Mo Farah. But you still, listen, you cannot just, you know, if this is where the mental side of all of this comes in. If you give up at the first hurdle, you don't get to the finishing line, you know. And what I say to guys, there's many, listen, as beautiful as a woman is, there's more to that relationship than just putting the plug in the socket.
That's right.
Much more.
And this is the thing that women, I'm a woman, Errol, and this is the things that I would think about when getting into relationship with men, whether or not their bits were going to work. And I always think that a woman should always consider that there's more to the word, and men, more to the word love than the mechanical aspect.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So
you know what? If you strip that word love, and define what it really means, there's more to it than just turning the lights on. There's much more.
That's right.
Right? it's important to understand, right, that it's also a lot to do with feelings. You know, when somebody loves and cares about you, that is the greatest feeling, and that's the massive support. And every day when you wake up, right, you have to believe, right, that you can give that back.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So the answer to your question is yes. Turn the lights on.
Yeah.
And then start walking around the room, and you find out it's very interesting when you turn the lights on.
Yeah, I think it's all down to our bodies being comfortable and acceptance of, what else can you do? It's no different. If you lose your sight, you're going to improvise, aren't you? You're going to imprise, and you're still going to be guided around the world or wherever you're going to be doing. So I'm saying there are people that adapt to things that are you have to adapt with things that happen. It's just the way it is, rather than give up on your loved ones.
Of course.
It's about time that we spend and what we can do with that time. Now, so you demonstrated a bit of depression. That's what I picked up at the onset of this, and you've turned that depression into a positive. You're staying focused by plunging your awareness into other people. It's keeping you focused, keeping you MOT'd, keeping you energetic, but it's not allowing you to fall down into a sinking pattern. Is it? And I'm not going to allow.
This is where you're important. This is where you guys are important, because it's very easy to fall off the rails. You know, when as a child, right, when you fall down, right, or if you fall off of a bicycle, right, you know, if you get up and get back on that bicycle, right, then you've won that battle. You know, and my gentleman that does the Keep Fit, he will tell you, right, if you push yourself, right, you don't know what your limits are until you push yourself, right, and that is why it's the mental strength that will make you succeed. The physical strength is wonderful, but the mental strength will get you across the line.
Yeah,
you know, and that is the message that I give to people.
Gosh, great, thank you. JD and Lou, do you have any questions for Errol?
I just want to add to this. I just want to add to Errol, and I just want to say something. Is that a lot of what Errol says I've not had my tests, and it's the same thing. Like I said, I'm ex-military. I've been through shit. I've been through battles and everything. Worked on the railway. I'm an engineer like you, and I'm a personal trainer. But I'd rather get shot by a bullet than to go and see the GP to get my things checked. And that's the mental side of it. And I know it sounds silly, but listening to you, and the only reason I'm doing this, again, is because of my wife. My wife turned around to me and said, you know, how could you talk about fitness and health and well-being and blah, 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 and you don't even want to check that? Because of her dad passed away through prostate, so it's a lot more personal. And again, she's been nagging me. And it's only because of talking to Adrian the other week, we talked about that. And then she said, you know, you do a lot of stuff about health and well-being, but you do nothing, you don't talk enough about men's health. So she's pushed me to do that. And because I'm doing this interview with you guys, well, I want to make today trying to make an appointment to see GP. I know I've got to get it done. I have the fear, and it is a fear. It is a fear going in front of the doctor, because I hate doctors, and it's genuine, and I think it's a bloke thing. But I know I have to get it checked. I'll be 49 this year, so yeah. So this has prompted me to get it done. And when we come off this chat, you need to join the JDA, and you guys, all of us need to talk, because this is something I need to push more awareness on my side as well.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for that, Kerry. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just trying to see if I can just put your link in there as well. Lou, do you got any questions, my love, to this gentleman?
I did have a couple of questions, but they've been answered as we've been talking. which is fine. But I just want to say that obviously I have no idea about any of this. And I've got a lot of males in my family. So being a part of this, I've got a son. So being a part of this and gathering awareness and finding out about it is, what I can do. Then go out there. I've got 4 brothers I know have not been to the doctors to have this check. Now, one of my questions is there any specific age that before you can get checked? Do you have to be of a certain age?
Can I answer that question? Right. The specific ages that the government are telling us, right, is 45. Right? Well, it's 50 is the age that they want you to get checked. But if you're of Afro-Caribbean or it's a history of it in your family, right, then they want you to get checked at 45. But if we go back to my story of what happened in my garage, right, men are getting diagnosed with this problem a lot earlier. So what I'm saying to men is 30 years of age, start looking at yourself to get this checked. You know why? Because if it's in your family, right, it's even more critical that you ain't going to wait until you're 50 to get this check. You know, look about it, ask the questions, you know, listen, no disrespect, but I'm looking at the other 3 gentlemen here, right, and the doctor will look at them and say, guys, you're fine, you don't need a check. Yes, you do, because they don't know what's going on inside. And the reason why I said that is because when I was diagnosed with this issue, I went to my dad and I told my dad about the problems. And my dad said, son, I had that 5 years ago. And I said, you couldn't tell any of us, right, before that you had this problem. You know, whether I would have dealt with it or done something about it, I don't know. But, you know, what I learned from that, right, is even though I was angry with my dad and I couldn't speak to him for 6 months because of it, right, when I went out and started doing these talks and seminars, it's so common with us men, and particularly Afro-Caribbean men. They just do not want, you know, people, you know, me and Jemmy have been in talks, right, where we've had to get really, really brutal in conversation, right, when we're telling men to get themselves checked, you know. And I'm going to say this to you, know, listen, I did the doors at clubs, right, for 10 years, you know, and I went through all kinds of battles when I was doing that. And none of it bothered me. None of it reduced me to tears like this prostate cancer did. So it comes back to what Kerry is saying and what you're doing, right? Listen, the mind, the mental strength and the mind is key to getting you through this battle, you know. And, you know, you've got brothers, but they will listen to you. You know why? Because as a sister, you will keep nagging at them until they get it checked. And listen, don't worry if you got to bully them to get themselves checked. Tell them to go and get themselves. The time to get yourself checked is now, not tomorrow, not the next day. Now, you know. And I'm proud of this young man saying that he's gonna get himself checked, right? You know, come on, you know. Listen, talk to me. Talk to the Errol Mckellar Foundation, right? Let's do. You know, Jemmy and myself, we have done a lot of work out there to get this message out there. So. Listen, talk to us and we will help as much as we, and if we don't have the answer, we will go and find it.
Look down the bottom. If you go, you can see the Errol Mckellar Foundation.
I think what it helps know.
Pardon? So you can see the where you can find Errol Mckellar right down the bottom here, and contact him if you have any further questions, and if you would like to help with any donations towards a mobile testing vehicle. I think at the end of the day, I ask you, as a member of Mind Over Matter, it's called Mind Over Matter, to share the awareness, and maybe somebody will step forward and help this with this donation into this vehicle. Who knows, they might have one wanted to be donated. We had a van donated to us to help other people because somebody listened, because somebody shared the awareness. And that's what we're asking you from this talk, to share the awareness. We didn't sit here wasting our breath for you to just have that entertainment. We're asking you, if you heard this message, share. It's that important. We have had a few shares already, and I appreciate that. you viewers looking at this and watching. We're now going to hear from Mick Snelders, a completely different aspect of it. Mick, can I just ask Errol one more question for you?
Yeah, sure.
One more question.
Go on.
Do you think having faith makes a difference without preaching any of it, because people will be shun away? But I always say that I got through my trauma and my attempts at the things that I've done and my storms was because I had a silent word with myself.
I think, yeah. I think, you know, listen, from a personal point of view, I feel that it releases lots of tension. It releases lots of anxiety, and it also helps you to feel good about yourself. But you know what? First of all, right, you know, you have to be, you know, of mind. You know, you have to be of mind and sound within yourself, right? Because you don't want to just go and have sex for the sake of having sex. You know, when you do something with feeling, that's a better feeling, and that's a better understanding of how you address things. Yes, it's an important part of our life, but you know what? Let's not pigeonhole it and say, right, well, there's, you know, it's a necessity. What is important? Sometimes you just need a hug or a cuddle, and you know, just say I love you. You know, they do just the same thing. You know, we need to learn to be artists. We need to learn to be creative. Yeah. Big hug. That's it. You know, that reminds you that there's a lot of caring out there, because nothing is greater than feeling. You know, if someone makes you feel on top of the world, that is brilliant. You know, and guys, it can be done. It's not a difficult thing. You know, look at your partner, understand how they understand you. You know, if you give something back, we men get a lot from you ladies. It's about us giving you back as much as we can.
Thank you. So you dealt with it head on. You see the differences in how we deal with it. Oh, the very important question: how are you now? Where are you now?
Well, you know what? I'm 63 years of age. I say my prayers every night, and I'm grateful to the man above, right? Because, you know, I feel that I'm at peace with myself. You know, I have a wonderful wife. I have a fantastic family. You know, and you know, the support network that I get from my friends and everybody. You know, I wake up every morning, right, and pledge to save, right, as many people as I can, to prevent them going through this. So you asked me about mind and the mental issues. That's where the strength comes from. You know, when I get up, I want to make a difference. That's what I want to do. I want to get and look at somebody and say, right, you know what? Today, right, we haven't got 129 men that are dying of prostate cancer. We're not losing a man every 40. Listen, this cancer took on the wrong person, and that's my attitude to it. I'm here now, and I'm going to fight it as the best I can, but I'm going to do it with everybody alongside me, you know. So again, I'm proud of you guys. Yeah, I'm in a great place. I mean, they give me an MBE. It's not me, it's all of us. All of you sitting there are part of this MBE, right? So give yourself a clap, because it takes an army to save 1 million people, right? One man don't do that by himself. Right. So thank you guys on behalf of the people that we've lost through this journey. Thank you.
Thank you. You heard him. Echo this out with a good share. That's all we can ask you, to echo it out. Thank you very much. You've had an invitation whilst you're here from Canada, and it says Actonic Therapies would love you to help raise awareness in Canada, please. I can set that up for you, Errol, and Nick, if you like. So the more we go, the more we know we thrive on this. This is what we live for. So thank you very much,
Kerry. We've already nominated you as the agent to organise the Canada trip, so no problem.
That's the sound of the police. That's us.
No problem.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mick, thank you so much for being so patient.
That's all right.
Thank you, Mick.
Thank you as well.
No, it's really good to hear, Errol. Really good to hear.
Yeah, and you guys can do something together too. You see, you see, now I've hooked you all up.
Yeah, definitely, we're going to do that.
Thank you, viewers. At the moment, we're not finished. We're about to tell you another story here. We're about to tell you about Mick Snelders, who is currently dealing with cancer through Hmmm I. And this is the way. So it's nice to hear another voice, how people cope through it. So Mick, I've been writing a lot about you. You gave me a video to watch as well, and gosh, it was so informative. It answered the questions that I wanted answered about your bits, about all the bits. Sorry, so I was actually prepped with you men today about your bits. And that's the thing. I think that's the tip of the iceberg with a lot of women. We won't say it, but we think it, so we say it out loud. What about the bits? Because we're talking about the people that we may be with, you know, and who may experience or may be faced with this. Why we're doing this is a preventative measure somewhere along the line. So Mick, welcome and bring us into. I'm glad you're meeting these guys for the first time as well.
Yeah.
So please do.
What I'll do is as well, I'll go through what I do, because I do talks for Prostate Cancer UK. So I used to be used for them to go around corporates in order to get their money to go towards a charity. And I'll give you the first spiel bit that I normally do on it, which is I always go into the first thing where there's all these people around, and I'll say, first thing I'd like to say is prostate cancer doesn't affect me. But that's what I would have thought before 2013. And that was when a very close friend and colleague of mine was diagnosed. Now, this man, Mr. Lakbir Sangha, was a martial arts teacher. He was 62, very, very fit man. I mean, you used to go into the club before he trained, and he was running around and press ups and stuff and that. And he got diagnosed. And by the time they diagnosed it, they think he'd had it for 10 years. And by that time, it had taken its toll on his body. And we watched over the next 18 months as it eroded that man and took him from us. And then I thought, yeah, but it still doesn't directly affect me. And then I did the maths of it, and I thought, well, if he was 63 when he passed and he'd had it for 10 years, he'd have only been maybe a couple of years older than me. So I thought, well, maybe I should get checked up. And like Errol says, I thought, yeah, I'll do it. Who pushed me? Lisa. She said, have you got checked yet? I said, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And I went and got checked, and that's when I found out I had an aggressive prostate cancer myself. No symptoms, nothing, but because of that. And that's why I do the talk for Prostate Cancer UK, because as Errol was saying, if you don't get it early enough, it can, it takes hold. Now that was 7 years ago, and I was clear up until 2019. It's made a comeback, and I've just found out on Monday a little bit about what's happening, and we start again. But one of the things I found through it, so when I do the talks for Prostate Cancer UK, and I think it was one of the questions that came up when one of the, I think it was Jennifer was on here, and she said, what can you do specifically? What can females do? It's the same as anything. You have to have the information. If you've got the information, you can then impart that knowledge. So the talks I give go through what's the prostate, where it is, what does it do, what are the problems that can come from it, and what action you should take. And so we go through this whole talk, and a lot of the times I go to places, there's lots and lots of, oh, hello, my cat's coming. Always upstage. So I go there, and there's mainly men. And we get I go to a lot of the companies, and there's some women saying, oh, sort of, I heard this is men's talk. I said, no, it's not. It's a talk on prostate cancer. And a lot of the times when we're there, and there are women come up, and they'll say, oh, yeah, my husband or my dad or something. And that's why it's because it's affected them. So all through my process, again, when we look at the figures, we were saying about 1 in 8 men, 1 in 4 of the Afro-Caribbean, Black and Afro-Caribbean men, okay, very high. And there was a big push from Prostate Cancer UK to inform them, to make sure, to try and get that message across. And we're still going through that. But we have these sort of, again, there's 2 ways of taking things. You've got the negative and you've got the positive, because when when I did my talks, when I started doing the talks, we would say there are over 300,000 men in the UK living with or after prostate cancer. And just at the end of 2019, that changed to 400,000. Someone said, that's terrible. I said, no, that's 400,000 living with or after. That's more people living after. So it's a positive. It's 30% more. It's gone up. The number of people who are surviving, because when I had it, I found out that my father-in-law, Lisa's dad, he'd been the first person in the UK to have the prostate done through robotic surgery. And when I went in to have my surgery, and I lay there, and the surgeon was talking to me, and he said to me, I said, oh, my father-in-law, he was the first person to have this. And he said, yeah, okay, yeah, and you've got a Ferrari as well. It was like, this is sort of imaginary story. And then afterwards, he was the first person. And there was an 11-year gap between his surgery and mine. The difference in recovery, massive, okay? Keeping in mind that all the time, every 5 years, you are doubling the knowledge that the medical people can do. So there's always a positive to know that, the word cancer, I call it Carmel. I've said to people, I call it Carmel. That's my name for cancer. Because, well, when you say to people, I'm having a problem with my Carmel, they don't go, oh, they go, what's Carmel? Okay, and then you can sort of ease into it. Because the word cancer has had so many connotations because of years ago, if it was cancer, that's it. And that's not the case anymore. Okay? So I started looking at how I dealt with it. And it was just, there were funny things that happened all the way. So we were talking about the bits earlier on. Well, Lisa came with me because with my particular surgery, because the cancer was, again, the prostate was full, it was coming out of it, they cut a big area, which meant they cut the nerves, which will help with an erection. So then they say, there's all sorts of stuff we can do to help you. But, so the first thing was Lisa and I went to see the oncologist afterwards, the urologist, and we said, look, there's different things you can do. He said, Viagra. He said, we don't give you Viagra, we give you Cialis. Cialis is taken daily just to keep a gentle blood flow going. And I said, how long does it last? And he said, 2 days. I said, what? I'm going to be like that for 2 days. And Lisa said, I'm going to have to book time off school. She said, because she's a teacher. So, and it was just this thing of turning things around.
Yeah.
Rather than taking it as like, oh, this is terrible. When I was first told I had cancer, I'd had all the tests, and I'll go through those in a bit. All the tests, and they said, right, you're gonna have to go through this. I've lost the trail of what I was saying. When we were going through with the cancer, I went into the room, and the guy said, he was literally like this. He said, have you had the results of your biopsy? I said, no. He said, oh, there is a cancer there. I said, sorry? No, come here. And he said, oh, there is a cancer there. Very glib. And when we got out, Lisa was more shocked than me. And I said, look, he does that every day. Now, when we were sitting there waiting, we were sitting in a room, and there was a big room, loads and loads of seats, full. We had to stand and wait. And my appointment was something like 25 minutes later than it should have been. And all that time, people were coming in, going out, that room was full. There was another room next to it, full. And when I went into that thing and came out, that room was still full. And that would be full for the next hour, for the next hour, for the next day, for the next week, people being told. But some of them are being told, we've got to deal with something. And other things were being told, you're fine. And I said to her, so when she said, how can you tell us like that? And I said, well, what do you expect? Somebody in the, background with a piano. And so when they say you've got cancer, they go, da, da, da. They have their way of doing it. They did say it. And again, we were saying about doctors, and maybe JD, one of the things is sometimes we get good doctors, sometimes we get bad doctors. We get people, and we pay them for their skill, not necessarily their personal skills. I've had a friend who went to the doctor, and he said to me, he was awful. I said, yeah, but you wouldn't want to go to a butcher to get it done because he's a nicer fella. You've got that thing of somebody who's right for the job. So, and that's why sometimes it's difficult. Like you say, if your experience of a doctor hasn't been particularly good, you might be more on edge about going and seeing them. So from there. So anyway, it was my approach has been, okay, be upfront about it. Whether I'm sad, whether I'm angry, whether I'm scared, whatever it is, it's not going to change what I'm going through. So what I'm going through, I can't change. What I'm in control of is how I deal with it. And that's where, so the things like going out and doing the talks was just to make sure that people get an honest view, see somebody who's going through it, and not to be so afraid of it. So this is where, so I mean, Kerry, I think you'll have to ask me questions from the list of things you've got, so we get the relevant bits out of it. So I'll just rattle.
No, I actually was listening to you, because at the end of the day, when I actually heard that you nicknamed it, is it Carmen? Carmen, is it?
Carmel.
Yeah. Carmel.
I got my Carmel.
I kind of like the name Carmel, and I just thought, well, that's your nickname for this C word. So you are so inspiring, you guys. Straight. Right. So we talked about biopsies earlier, so we can cover those. These are the things that need to be covered, is about biopsies, and these are things that you get more information in. What I picked up about your story is that your PSA levels, which is something that none of us are accustomed about, PSA
right.
PSA levels.
So shall I go through what the things are that indicate for this? So the PSA is a blood test, and for somebody in the normal range, it's between 1 and 4. 4 is quite high. Okay, so if it's going above that, they start to look at you.
And yours was 22
in the first time, and then 26 the next week. Yeah, but having said that, my friend Mr. Sanger, he was 130 when they first found it. But there are people who have been in 3,000s. There was a guy I met who had 3,600 and something. And with the medical care, it came down to 7. That's how good things can be now. And these are the things that people are always worried that it's, as soon as they've got Carmel, I'm always going to call it Carmel. If they've got Carmel, it's a finished product. It's not. There's so much that can be done. So the first thing is you go and you get this little blood test, and that will give you an idea. Okay. Then, as Errol was saying, as we were talking about earlier, and Jemmy as well, they say after that they might do what's called the DRE, which is the digital rectal examination, which is where, and again, it's one of those things that, I mean, I was thinking, I went in and I didn't know that was going to happen. And the guy got me lying on a couch with my knees up to my chest, and suddenly he's playing finger puppets with me. And I'm like, okay. And you go, right, I've got to go through it. And that's happened so many times now. The only thing is none of them write, none of them phone, they don't keep in contact. But it's I mean, you'd think they'd buy you a drink first, maybe a meal, I don't know. But the thing is, and this is the thing, is that you go, these are professional people. We get worried. We get, I did a talk at a building site where they had, I mean, it was a massive building site in Lambeth, and they had 180 guys come in. And I was doing a talk after a guy who was in a wheelchair, and he was talking about falling off a ladder and how it had ruined his, and he gives these talks. And he was a builder. He was laying it on with a trowel. I mean, he was very good, but I think it was about an hour and a half talk. And so when they said, and now you're going to hear from Mick Snells about prostate cancer, I thought, this is going to finish them off, So I went up there, and all through the talk, the guys, some of them still wear hard hats, they're like that, all the way through. And the only time there was actually a murmur was when I said, and then they can do the DRE, the digital rectal examination. Oh, no way, no way am I. I said, for the sake of that, you're going to leave your family. You're going to let your kids live without father. Yeah, you're going to leave early because of that. So I say, this is the thing, is you got to think about, what does it mean? What is important to you? Okay, your kind of feeling of manhood, that because it's in a closed room, it's I mean, we're not going to do one now live on here. You know, it's a very personal thing, but they are professional people and they're doing it. So it's trying to take, I don't suppose I can say take the sting out of it. That's probably the wrong word, but you're taking that pressure off it to say, these are things to make sure that I stay alive for my wife, my kids, my family, to go through these things. Yeah. So you go through that, then they might go through to biopsy. Biopsy will take sections of it. And again, the biopsy, again, it's another knees up to the chest bit. And I hope everyone's finished having their tea. They go in, basically, they go in from behind and they snip out little bits of prostate to take it away to do that. Now, I can see Jamie's face there, but it's a discomfort. I spoke to Lisa's dad, and I loved it because he was the font of all knowledge for me. And I said to him, look, Phil, you know, what's it like? And he said, well, he said, it's not painful. He said, it's uncomfortable. He said, you'd rather be somewhere else. I said, he said, I like to go to Hawaii. That's where I would have been. I thought, right, okay. So it's that thing if you want to be somewhere else, but it's a 10-minute thing, 10, 15-minute thing, and it's done. And so throughout all the embarrassing things, I found the best way was not to be embarrassed and put it back onto surgeons, put it back onto the people there, and go, right, okay, this is life. This is what happens. Things can go wrong. But life changes all the time. We change house, we get married, we have kids, we change jobs. We don't give up straight away because something has changed. So, and I think it was Errol was talking about, you know, sort of hurdles. Well, whenever there's a hurdle in front of you, it doesn't mean you have to go over it. You can go under it, you can go around it, you can push the thing down. You find a way. If you can find that way. My way was through humor. That was my way of dealing with it. I'm not saying there weren't the dark moments, because the worst time was when I was told, yes, you have prostate cancer. And then I had to wait 2 weeks to find out how bad it was. Those 2 weeks, not good at all. Okay. And my mental strength sort of wavered there. But then once you got to the treatment part, you went, okay, they're going to do something with this now. I'm going to be okay. And then finding all the little bits around that. And like I say, the humorous bits.
So what did you do during that waiting game? Because that is the part, waiting for tests, waiting for results. What did you do in your time?
Like I say, it's quite weird because that time was difficult. Since I've been told that I've got it back and it's now travelled, so we're at the stage where we've got to find out what's going to happen. Okay, but I'm more this time round. Again, I'm very fixed in my mind that I can't change what they're going to say. I can't change if they say, look, it's this, it's that. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. You're going to have to, you know. But I can change how I deal with it. And I just go, it's going to be what it is. So what do I do? Today. It's about today. Yeah. They can tell me in 3 months' time, we're going to have to do this and you're going to be in bed for whatever. I don't know what they're going to say. But today, I'm smiling. I'm happy. I'm okay. I'm in a lot better position than most people. Okay. I've got a house that I can sit in. I have food that comes to, you know, I'm fed, I'm watered, I enjoy my life. I'm very, you know, there are people who've been born into life and have nothing and struggle until the day that they die. Okay. There was a bit from The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, and he sees the main samurai guy, and they're in a garden full of blossoms. And I always remembered the samurai saying, if you could search your whole life for the perfect blossom, and if it's found, it's not a wasted life. For that moment, that beautiful moment. And the thing is not to look for that blossom for you, be that blossom for someone else. It's, yeah.
When you talk about cancer, as a person that had to sit there and watch that suffering from my dad, from my mum, from my uncle, many friends as it is, but watching a cancer treatment watching the tests, the prompt and the prodding, but watching the other people around you that don't know what to say, that don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And they go on over and over again, over concerns, which then becomes a mental problem for them, really, because then they're agitating, they're showing anxiety, they're actually showing some traits of they really need to know. You need to tell me, you need to, because they don't know how to cope themselves backstage. And so therefore, you know, it's your life, but it's everybody else's, but it is your life. This is making.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things, Kerry, I think that for me, because I knew I've got it and we're going to deal with it and do that, I don't know the outcome. But then again, Lisa and everyone, I remember once I was diagnosed with it and we were sitting down and she said, what do you want to do tonight? And this, I don't know, about a week later or something, I don't know. And her daughter and her boyfriend were in and we were all sitting down and we'll watch a film. And so we started watching a film, and it was about 4 people who are going to attempt suicide at the Empire State Building. And of course, they all bump into each other and they say, oh, well, is it your turn or my turn or what? And they went through this. And the last guy, his problem when he came up, and he said, he was a pizza delivery boy and he's delivering pizzas to them, but he says, I've got cancer of the brain. And I was sitting there watching it, and I felt everybody's heads go. Like, you could feel the tension in everybody in the room. And they said, do you want us to turn it off? I said, what, just because you've mentioned cancer? I said, no, I'm all right. And I felt that I was luckier because it's happening to me and I'm not feeling anything. And they don't know how to cope with it. So we've been very open with talking about it and say, look, if there's something, tell me, talk about it. Lisa's daughter, I remember her coming in the first time she'd heard that I'd got it. And I was in the kitchen and I heard the front door go. And I just called out to her, is that you? And there was no answer. And then she came because she didn't know what to say. And so it was easier for me to go, come here. I said, look, I'm all right. And, you know, because again, you don't, you know, a lot of people don't know how to deal with it, don't with that. You have to deal with it as a family, as an extended family. You have to, and at certain times it's flock of geese. When they fly, the strongest one is at the front and the rest of them will go back. When that one gets tired, it goes to the back and another one takes the lead until it is stronger. Certain people will be stronger at different times. Don't be afraid to show your weakness. Don't be afraid to be strong when you can. Okay? And share that strength when you can. And different members of the family will have that at different times. And it's really important. As Errol was saying, it's a group. It's a group. It's not you. Okay? You may be the one bearing that illness, but somebody else might go and get knocked down by a bus the next day. You're not necessarily going to be the next person to pass away. Okay? So you work at it as a group. You use the strengths of everybody in that when they can be strong. I think that's one of the important things I found.
When I always say, because you know, when survival is everything, isn't it? It is survival every day. I think when you get a chance to do something, or you know that let's take our life serious now. You know, these are opportunities. We've got opportunities. What you're going to do, how you're going to plan, and all of those things. We know that plan, but when you facing up to things is the hardest part. Is facing up to what is happening. But I think when I hear, sorry, it's pulling me back into when I'm talking to you, I'm going back into my own experience. I'm relating your journey to watching my father die. I'm relating your journey to watching my mother, my uncle, and I'm looking at that word cancer. And it may not just stay in one place. It does and can spread. And then when you watch that journey, I think how you make someone comfortable is right. You know, some people will, just like depression, feel sorry for themselves because something's happening to them, and then it makes the body even 10 times worse, you know. So I think dealing with the way you were dealing with cancer and still dealing with cancer is with humors to the best of your ability. You can't always be humorous, but you do the best of your ability. And I think it's almost like having a tick list. I said it. I asked my uncle I found out about my uncle when he had bowel cancer, and then the bowel cancer then spread to other areas. But I had to learn all about it. There wasn't point of relying for my uncle to tell me or my mum or dad to tell me about it. I had to educate. The first thing I done was when they brought me a diagnosis, I went on and used the search engine to see what else I could find out more. But it was better to speak to other people that have lived through the experience, because you might have different questions and more time to ask those questions in certain individuals. If you have questions, viewers, and you really particularly want to speak to anybody that's been on here tonight and you have questions, please do pop an email to, you can go there to contact Errol for the email company there, or you know how to get hold of the Mom Project, any emails, and I will pass these over to these gentlemen, and then those questions will be answered to you to the best of ability. So it's not all doom and gloom when you get off here that there's going to be no exit, you know.
Yeah.
It's for me what I done for my uncle, to make my uncle, because he was so scared. How I could comfort him was to be there, but ask him what does he want to do for fun all throughout it as much as I could. So we did as much list as possible to make sure that we could plan. We even planned just in case we made that plan. So we got involved, everybody in it before, you know. So everybody was just me. That I was the only family left really that was actually going to do anything. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, it is good to have support. It's good to have the awareness. And, you know, I want to bring you back. And I want to bring Errol back on a one-on-one, and I'm going to bring Jimmy back with a few things as well on the one-on-ones, because if you can, because I understand it's exhausting, the things that you're doing and managing your home life and telling stories and telling everybody what's going on, you know. I have so many notes on the material that you have out, which you can find on YouTube channel, Coping with Hmmm coping, what is it, Mick?
Coping with cancer with humour.
Coping with, please, it is so detailed. It's in stages. It's the day I went to the doctors, the day this, the day this, the that, and it's in stages. It is so informative. All those questions you ladies and gentlemen perhaps may want to ask, it's put in a not morbid way, because it's not morbid, because I think what you've done is lighten the load. The way you do it with humour, it lightens the load. It makes the process bearable for people to more approach you, to approach and get themselves sorted out more by listening to the humorous side of it. It does still sound scary what you guys go through, and
can I just say, Kerry, that one of the first things on the thing is I do say that, you know, so this is my approach, and I know that because some people said to me, so how, you know, sort of. I'm on sort of some prostate cancer groups on Facebook, and it wasn't my thing, but somebody else had commented saying, you know, somebody's put this thing up, you know, humorous thing. It's not humorous in the slightest. And so each person takes things in different ways. And I say that although I am doing it through my way, in hoping that my way, just like you say, takes the load off a little bit, gives that information, gives a lift to people. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't try and belittle the other side of it. I saw my friend go over 18 months, and he was incredible through to the end, but it was a rough journey. Okay, and I never forget him. And he was a great source for me to know this is how you handle it. This is how you can go through it. So I don't belittle, but you know it's the real hardship that can be with it. But it's just for the people who are worried about the initial stages, how do I check up? And I'm really worried about this. And I'm really going, you know, these are things that happen. And if you're sorted, you've got the rest of your life. Yeah. So, you know, that thing of the humour for me is to get a message across. It's to get a message across. And hopefully it comes across in a way that informs and helps.
It did. It certainly did. And I will, throughout the year, still continuous, probably forever, whereas I know where your stuff is, but I will still continue to raise awareness on the material that you also have left behind, left there, because it is about leaving that awareness. You could go on quietly, you could go quietly, you could mind people. People say, why are you putting your private life out there? And I think we put our private life out there, somebody has to do it, so you know where to go for the help and the information, where you know what to do, you know what to expect. Maybe you have options. Explore different people's circumstances of what they've gone through, how they, you know, we've had 3 different ways of looking at the problem tonight, but the problem that I have is you've got these brave people that are talking about cancer and actually dealing with cancer. Then I tell the viewers, and this is the ignorance, you talked about ignorance earlier, please share the awareness just so somebody else can hear. That's what we expect, because we dedicate the time, and time is precious, and you can tell that tonight. So this is me reaching out on behalf of these men and behalf of women that are losing men, also their partners, because it doesn't stop there. It then goes on to the partner who then suffers from depression if it's not handled correctly. And then there's the grieving process if it's not handled correctly. So education is key. It is vital, and it's vital to know that everybody deals with this information differently. Some will be ignoring it. Some will say they want to enhance their life and preserve their life, and they will do everything to explore to preserve it. I think the way that you handled it with Hmmm, perhaps I've heard that medicine, laughing, is the best medicine. I think it's the best medicine for depression. I've heard that laughing can cure things, because your mindset is completely different. You're not focusing on Carmel, you're not focusing on it too much, unless somebody calls you in for an appointment where you've got to remember about the appointment. You're so focused on just having a laugh and living in the now, because even though you're going through what you're going through, that's a long, tedious process that you're going through, and that's an everyday having to keep facing this at the moment, you know. So I acknowledge that, but there's also the thing that I want to acknowledge, that when you said waiting for the results, I think Errol said that as well, waiting for the results. It is that wait. I think that a lot of us, when we're looking for results, is what is that or result? And I think if I compare it to even HIV on AIDS test, waited back then when the test was there was a longer wait. So right now it's a lot shortened, but waiting for any kind of results that will give you an ultimate maybe nay or yay, you know, we have to think about, we're not robots, we're not made of metal, and if we don't treat our body right, we don't look after our bodies right, then, you know, are we can contribute in somewhere along the line, you know. And I think depression, that can trigger a lot of cells, right? We do know that. That's why we say happiness is the best cure. So when you bring in on the laugh and on the humor within cancer, I appreciated every minute of it. I really did, because I was dealing for having to look at your material. It pulls me back to triggers, a trigger, but I'm able to handle the trigger because it's not going to hurt me. I'm now being armed with information that I can, as a mother, can give my boys. And I've been talking to my kids, and you know what? They can be blasé about what I'm doing. And I'm just like, I'm telling you. So people that are in health positions or whatever else, that they've got children, it can be the worst to take that information, because they think mum's nagging again. Mum's in it. No, mum ain't nagging. Mum said get your stuff sorted out so you can preserve your life. I think it's important that women are involved in boys' stuff. After all, we raised you, right? After all, we brought men into this world, and we have to equip these children at a later date. Would any of you like to interview a 9-year-old ambassador for mental health is I have an ambassador for mental health, and they are 9 years old, and they want to start educating people about these kind of things and mental health in a kiddie version, so kids can understand. Because after all, when you have these things, you might have children that are going through it also, and there are people out there that don't understand, they don't know what to say, they don't even have to master the kids. When I lost my father, I didn't know what to say to my child back then. So none of it was explained. You just expect kids to just be quiet and sit there and not know anything. And so we are thinking about the children. We are thinking about the future. We are thinking about making things a lot easier and nipping it in the bud. And that's why we've brought this information to you guys today. And we hope that you share the hell out of it. I really do. So that's where we need to go. I think kids need to be educated, because after all, when people are not well in their households, children are not going to understand. So that may be another avenue where people are doing a kid-friendly version of how to teach the children how to cope, what they can do with their parents and their loved ones as well. So it's an avenue needed to be explored rather than just adults, because it affects all of us, your friends as well. Maybe there should be a session where how do your friends cope? Yeah, you're teaching them, but you know, when they go behind closed doors, they cry to somebody else. So it is a testimonial that you stand here, and no matter what you're going through, you are giving back. And that's what you're doing. I'm going to have a last and ever memory of you, because we don't last forever. None of us do, all right? If we're going to put it that way. And so we're living in the here and now, on now. I appreciate you so much, each and every one of you. And I know that you're actually going to leave your history and your legacy, each and every one of us, because we've got it in a video version. It'll be uploaded. It's gone around the world. That's what you've done. You're going to be touching people for as long as the internet is here, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you want me to go through a couple of the things about the prostate? Because again, you know, so we're saying about getting the message out there. So give a quick brief breakdown. So with the talk I do is, first of all, because again, we're talking about prostate cancer. 2 out of 3 adults don't know what the prostate is. Okay. Yeah. So only men have it. And I know I was talking to somebody at one of the talks, and they said, you know, they had a friend who went to the doctors and said, oh, it was always, doctor, I've got this wrong, I've got that wrong, so I think I've got prostate cancer. And he laughed. I said, why are you laughing? You're a woman, you can't have it, only men have a prostate. Now the prostate is a gland. So the gland produces semen, that's its job. And it's based around the urethra as it goes. So this is why a lot of the problems that come from it can be to do with peeing. So this is what Errol was saying earlier, that if you notice that anything changes in your peeing habit, so if you know how you go to work and you say, right, most mornings I'll go for a pee, do this, do that, but I'll go to work, I'll have a cup of coffee, around about 12 o'clock I'll have another pee, or I'll go all day. If you suddenly find that either it's not happening, or if you go, there's a problem. If you find that you're going more, then that can be a sign that you have a prostate problem. And the thing is, prostate problems and prostate cancer are very similar in how they manifest themselves. But it doesn't mean that if you have a prostate problem, it will turn into prostate cancer. Okay? So that's one of the things. But to look out for these signs, and it's all around peeing. Okay. I mean, you think about sort of like guys when, you know, in your 20s and you're sort of like seeing how high up the wall you can go and that, and then suddenly you're looking down, it's just dribbling. It's a sign there's a change. So you might have a prostate problem. So that's when you start looking at going to the doctor. So when we were talking about the ages, and that although there are a significant number of younger men going through it, the main age is 50. And that's when you can go to your doctor and insist. So if you're 50, you can do that. If you're in the black community, you could at 45, because doubling up the numbers that can go from there. Yeah, Jemmy.
Mick, there's a shorter way. Tell your GP that it's in your family and they will fast track you. That's what I advise everyone, because a lot of GPs don't want to give the test. Yeah.
So the thing when you say it's that males, if you've had a brother or a father who's had prostate cancer, you're 2.5 times more likely to get prostate cancer yourself. So there are a number of factors: age, family history, if you're having a problem. So all of these things add up, and that's like you say there, Jemmy, that if you've got those things, you can go to them and say, look, it's I'm not just because I'm 39, but there's a history of it in my family. They will start looking a bit more. JD, sorry, you were going to say something.
But the thing is, I think when you're talking about peeing, because I tend to drink a lot of water, so is it just a case of just getting it checked? I'm always peeing.
If there's a change in your usual habit. So let's say if you say you're peeing a lot and nothing's changing, well, there's no change maybe in the prostate. But if you start finding you're peeing more, or when you go for a pee, maybe the flow's changed. Maybe it's hard. Maybe you go for a pee and you feel like you haven't, your bladder hasn't emptied. That's a sign that there could be a prostate problem. So that's one of the first signs that you can think of. So again, looking out for the signs. It can be something like just an enlarged prostate, because like I say, because you've got the urethra like that and the prostate's around it. So if it's getting, if it's growing, if it's constricting that, it's going to stop the flow. It's going to stop. So that's one sign that you might have a prostate problem. It might be a urinary infection. Okay. So it might be, so one of the things they'll do is they'll do a pee test to make sure that it's not an infection. And then they might then say, but it could be this. Errol was it Errol? No, Jemmy, you were the one who was saying about motorbikes and bicycles. And with that, they say 3 days before the test that there's things that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't ride a bicycle, and you shouldn't have sex just before you have this test. Now, when they said that to me and they said you mustn't have sex before the test, I thought, how many people thinking I'm about to get checked out for cancer, but I've got 10 minutes now about it, doesn't happen. But they were saying that it alters. If you have sex or if you've been riding bikes, because of what's happening with the prostate, it might change the readings, which is why, for me, when I went in and my first reading was 22, the guy said he did the DRE and was just chatting to me about his holidays. And he said, doesn't feel too bad. Let's leave it at that. And I said, well, we're supposed to be going on holiday next week. Can we get it checked? And he said, we'll do another blood test then. He said, and the reason he wasn't worried, because he thought it might be just, my PSA going like that, and it's just a spike. So they might do, they won't just do the one PSA, they might do one a couple of weeks later. And again, they'll say, don't ride bicycles, don't have sex, take it easy so we can get a good result. Then they might go to biopsy. And again, the treatments as well afterwards, when they decide what it is, where it is, how bad it is, they can look at different things. And they'll look at things, radiotherapy. Removal is one of the things, but there's a lot of other things before that. They've even got a thing now where they put little seeds into the prostate. So when they do the radiotherapy, it goes directly to it. So brachytherapy, I think, is that one. And it goes straight, so it doesn't damage the area around it, because it's radiotherapy beams, it's basically burning a bit. And the thing that I found was that when it finished, I had a burn mark just above my bum, which was a heart shape. And what was the really nice timing of it was that was on the 13th of February. So Lisa, for Valentine's Day, came in with me bending over, dropping my trousers and saying, "Happy Valentine's, love." But it's, there are effects from it. So you get these. But the thing is that these things go through. Now, Errol said he had a really bad time with radiotherapy. I didn't. Again, different people, different things. So it's you don't know how you're going to react to it. But if you can face it with some kind of strength, it's less of, again, the mind games. Like you say, Kerry, it's about the state of mind. Okay? And recovering from it, like I say now, I'm quite open about it. I've talked to loads of people about it when they talk about, because the sex front is one of the things that men get really worried about. But I say there is more than one way to skin a cat. I have pumps and potions and they have all sorts of things. And it's great. When I go on holiday, I've got a bigger suitcase for that than I do for my clothes. So, but we'll go away. But it doesn't mean everything's over. And like we say, it's about intimacy, not sex, intimacy. And if you're with a partner who loves you, they're going to stay with you. They're going to, you know. So everything about how you go through it, and again, having that knowledge of what it is, what can go wrong with it, and what to look out for. And it's mainly about peeing. And once you've got that, take action. Take action. See the GP. Again, JD, if you sort of think, oh, should I, shouldn't I, and that, the first thing might be you go in and say, right, I've heard this talk and blah, blah, blah. And again, depending on your doctor and how you feel about that. And then have a little blood test. That could be it. They'll say, nothing wrong. Peace of mind. Peace of mind. Yeah.
So, JD.
Guys, I'm going to have to love you and leave you, yeah? I've got a weekly...
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
I will start my show and raise some awareness on my show and tell them about MOM and about you, Mick, and they already know about Errol. I'm always talking about Errol. But thanks for having me, Kerry. Unfortunately, I do have to go. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You can pass my email address if I can help anybody. I'm there in it. Take care, guys. Let's go.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. This is Jeremy Reese, guys.
I've got to go as well. The wife's calling me.
Great. Okay. So, Mick, would you be happy to come back again on a one-on-one?
Yeah.
Bit more depth. Yeah. Right. Perhaps JD would have made his appointment, and we can come back to see what JD's results are.
Well, I'm going to do it, but you know, after this week, I want to make sure all us guys. Make sure you look up for the JDA Fitness. Add me, join in, and we need to. I really want to work with you and support you in everything you do as well. And I think there needs to be more group for guys. There's not enough out there, and especially this is something that I need to ask loads of questions. There's still worries about it because obviously this is new and it's that fear. This is going about the beyond, and obviously this I think this is so important, and then because I promote health and well-being, I've got to practice what I preach, don't I?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So there we go. Mick was brilliant at sharing his experience. Please, Mick, come back. Yeah. And I think I have everything written down. I know because I'm aware of the time, and I think there's never enough time. See what I'm saying? That during the time that we've spoken, I haven't even covered half the stuff that I want to do and say and explore. I would like to come back and perhaps very soon to cover and explore other aspects that I think that perhaps we really, really, really want to do. And I might do that bit a little bit discreet behind doors for a minute, and then blast it out later. So at the end of the day, you can be yourself. But because for me, I'm happy to be at home. But what I do know is that your awareness has gone out, and it will go out worldwide. Mick, you're going to come back.
I will. No, it's been lovely. No, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
We're all new at this. So you think we're strangers meeting you because we wanted to hear what you had to say. We want to hear what you guys had to say. And do we know you? No. Why did I contact you? Because I felt it's important that, it is relatable. Suicide prevention. It's very relatable because some people can't cope with the message. Some people can't cope with the depression, and like I said, people lose people from prostate cancer, and this is why it's important to get checked. This is why it's important to take on board all of this information that is coming forward. If you want to know more, please do. You can drop an email, and I will sure to get that over to. In fact, here we go. I will be sure to get over the information to these guys of any questions that you actually want to ask. I mean, you might know them personally, I don't know, but definitely do drop us a line and we will answer those questions for you. As you say, I think it's important that we all club together here and continue doing what we're doing in different stages around this word. Carmel. I had another word for it because it took my family. But it wasn't a very polite word. I better not say that out. But, I look forward to to having you again. I mean, if you want to come back next week, Nick, if you're not busy, check your schedule, check your appointment, and let me know.
Yep, we'll do. We'll do.
But you're a bit quiet there down there, Lou. So I'm just going to go over the comments because people did take their time to write a comment. So, and they will play it back. Somebody's playing it in the background on another device, watching themselves. Can you hear it? Yeah. It's stopped now. So we had
not me.
Didn't know that's great information already. It's good that you have the type of relationship because some people don't communicate properly. Some serious conversations never happen. Who is this, Mick? Jennifer? Is it your supporter? Look, Jennifer Chapman. You know. Hey Mick. And Shaz Wolf, amazing testimonials. I hate cancer, so do we. You know.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
No, I think nobody likes that word. I don't know what bufferface is. Why does somebody call you bufferface? It's your friend, is it? Very true. So I think no one is screen perfect. Love is love. End of. I like that. So Mick, and you're off to Canada if you want to join. So
yeah,
you know, there are avenues of raising awareness, and we will take as much awareness around any topic, Mick, any topic. So if you've got friends, family, anybody that wants to speak about anything, we take any topic because that's what we're here for. We want to get that awareness out. I want to say thank you so much. It's been shared on people's pages. Thank you very much. You know, oh, look at that.
That's great, Shaz.
Yeah, thank you very much. Oh, what's this name? Toots.
That's the name of my cat.
So real talk, love it. And I think, you know, so inspiring. So I'm going to leave it on something really good. Agreed. Mick makes things a lot less scary when it comes to the big C. Should I leave that on that one?
Yeah.
No. I'm going to leave it on that one. Thank you guys for sharing. It's so important for men to be able to talk and share. Well done, you guys. And I've taken up quite a bit of your time today, and I'm going to take some more, but not too much, so you can spend it with your family and enjoy it. But bring it on and raise awareness with us.
Well, thank you very much, and I'll get in contact with you, and we'll work out a day next week. And then if you, like you say, if there's any questions, if people have got questions, you want to send them in to you.
Yeah.
Then we can go through all of that, because I think that's one of the things with this is that because we can't bounce straight back to them. But if they've got questions, you don't mind, Kerry, sort of them sending you the questions. And we'll go through it.
If there are any questions, you can contact me on the Mind Over Matter Gives Back page. As you can see, it's affiliated to this, so you can contact there. You can contact us over. You can find Mind Over Matter. If you're really interested in what we're doing, find Mind Over Matter Project Suicide Prevention. Sorry, I had a brain freeze. It's www.momproject.co.uk. Or you can find me. Just send me a message. I do talk to people. So and then I'll make sure that these questions are read out next week or when Mick comes back. So thank you very much, each and every one of you, for being here, raising awareness, dedicated to raising awareness to preventing fatalities, saving life, to making life more comfortable for people and a better understanding for all. So thank you very much for being a part of the Mom Project and JDA Lifestyles to raise that awareness and partnership. Thank you.
Okay, cheers.
Bye. I've got to go. Speak to you soon, mate. Inbox me. Yeah?
I will. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.